All right. Good morning, everyone. I am up to 18 subscribers. Yes. This morning, what I want to do is I want to talk about one of my favorite bands, and they are Black Flag. I had done a video earlier, a few months ago when I first started this channel, but since then I'm like, you know what, let me just update that video a little bit. So today, what I want to do is I want to walk you through some of my favorite records by them, and you know, hopefully turn some people on to Black Flag who don't know anything about them. And if you do know Black Flag, maybe you know, this might inspire you to listen to them today, or maybe discover some albums that you had never listened to before. So first, let me take a sip of my coffee. All right, so here we go. Some of my favorite albums by Black Flag. Well, one of my first albums that I was introduced to by them was a little album called My War. Now, this album was the album that followed Damaged. And as we all know, Damaged was a huge punk album. You know, if you look in any list of the top 10 punk albums of all time, whoever creates it, Damaged is probably going to be in that list. Well, this little number was the album that followed Damaged. And they took a different approach on this. You know, some fans liked it, some fans did not. But the songs on here, you've got My War, which is, you know, I can't think of a better opener for an album. Can't Decide. Beat My Head Against the Wall, which is another great number. I Love You, which is actually one of my top 5 Black Flag songs. It's kind of a, you know, sarcastic take on the feeling of love. Forever Time, and The Swingin' Man. That whole side, just one song after the other, just the flow of it and the intensity of those songs was just a great way to follow the album Damaged. Now we come to the second side of My War. The second side is the side that sort of separated the men from the boys, if you will. They slowed down the tempo on all 3 songs, almost to the point of you can't tell when one song ends and the next song begins. So it's 3 songs, but it might as well be one long song. It's sludgy, it's slow metal, it's Black Sabbath-y, it's St. Vitus-like, sludgy, slow, grinding guitars, slow tempos, totally against everything that Black Flag was on Damaged. So I think for me, I feel like they took a risk with that. And for me, it paid off. I know that other fans do not like the slower songs. They don't like, you know, Henry Rollins' lyrical approach or how he approaches those songs. But then there are other fans who feel like side 2 of My War is better than side 1. And there are fans who think side 2 of My War is better than anything on Damaged. So, you know, you're going to hear the gamut with this. But on the second side, you've got Nothing Left Inside, 3 Nights, and Scream. Those 3 songs, like I said, for me, they might as well just be one song, because it's just 3 songs of just slow, grinding punk metal, sludgy. You know, those are the adjectives that I would use to describe those songs. What's cool about this album release for me is it's got a misprint on it. So if you look here, it lists I Love You, The Swingin' Man, and Forever Time. The thing is, though, really, Forever Time comes before The Swingin' Man. The Swingin' Man really is the last song on side 1. So this was a misprint. They fixed it in later pressings, which I think is pretty cool. It's on a yellow SST label. So again, My War, one of my favorite Black Flag albums. I know for other Black Flag fans, it's another favorite. if you've never heard Black Flag, if you listen to the song My War, that'll show you who Black Flag is. And again, I guess I should probably say, for those of you who don't know who Black Flag is, this lineup for Black Flag, you had Henry Rollins on vocals, Greg Ginn on guitar, Bill Stevenson on drums, and Dale Nixon on bass, who is really Greg Ginn. It's his sort of, you know, pseudonym, ghost bass player. Bill Stevenson, of course, is the drummer who came from the band The Descendants. Bill Stevenson also went on to form the band All, and he's been in other bands as well. Phenomenal drummer. Greg Ginn on guitar. First listening to his solos, you might say, this guy's just all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to what he's playing, but there is, and I'm going to talk more about that with another album. But he brings a jazz quality to his solos, and his guitar tone has been copied so many times. He really, as far as punk guitarist, he's got to be in the top 5. Henry Rollins on vocals. I personally am a huge Henry Rollins fan. I love what he brought to the band. I love his intensity. I love his darkness. I love his deepness. I love his stage presence. I really feel like he brought the band to another level. And all of my favorite Black Flag albums are from the Henry Rollins era. I know there are a lot of people out there who do not like Henry Rollins. They prefer the pre-Henry Rollins Black Flag. For me, I love the Henry Rollins Black Flag. Okay, on later albums, you would have Kira, this girl named Kira on bass, but for My War, you had Dale Nixon on bass. All right, so another album of mine that's a favorite, and I was talking about how Greg Ginn is, his solos are very jazz-like. Well, the album, The Process of Weeding Out, will show you that. Now, this is another album that separates the men from the boys. This is an all-instrumental album, okay? And they explain it here. I'm not going to read it to you, and it's too small, but it explains what you're going to be listening to on this album. Okay, so you've got the songs Your Last Affront, Screw the Law, just 2 songs inside one. And then side 2, you've got The Process of Weeding Out and Southern Rise. Now, on this album, your lineup is Greg Ginn on guitar. Now we bring Kira in on the bass, and Bill Stevenson is on drums. So there are no vocals on this album. It's pure instrumental. This album I love, and the reason I love it is because I feel that I'm coming from a jazz background. You know, artists like Ornette Coleman and later Miles Davis, you know, Weather Report, the Herbie Hancock albums, sort of those, you know, jazz fusion albums where the solos are all over the place, and you have, like, I know Miles Davis has songs that are like over 20 minutes long. They take up a whole side. If you are into that kind of stuff and you are into punk music, you're going to love this, because the songs are rewarding after every listen. You're going to hear something different every time, because Greg Ginn's solos are all over the place, and his jazz approach just brings a uniqueness to the songs. And then the solos come back into those grinding riffs. So there's some really cool riffs in this as well. But it's an album that demands repeated listenings. If you're a fan of music where, you know, after the first time you're going to like it, then you're probably not going to like this album. If you are a person of music who likes to really delve deep into the music and likes music that's a little bit more demanding, you're going to love this album, okay? Just shows you how great Black Flag was. It shows you how great Black Flag, or not how great, but how they pushed the punk, you know, name. Another favorite of mine is an album called Loose Nut. And by this album, Black Flag was really showing their metal roots. You can hear a lot of metal riffing in this album, which I love because I'm a huge metal fan. So, classic SST cover. Let's pull out the vinyl here. See what that looks like. Okay. You've got it on an orange SST label. And the songs on here. I mean, this album, really, every song is great. It opens up with Loose Nut. Then you've got Bastard in Love, which has a great riff. Annihilate This Week. Best One Yet. And Modern Man. I love the drumming in Modern Man. Side 2, This Is Good. I'm the One. Sinking. And Now She's Black. So the lineup for this, you've got Henry on vocals, Greg Ginn on guitar, Kira again on bass, and Bill Stevenson on drums. Every song on this album is kick-ass. Like I said, this has more of a metal influence, I would say. It's got, you know, not that I want to say Black Flag wrote poppy type songs, but Bastard in Love and Annihilate This Week. I mean, those songs, hey, they could be on the radio. They've just got great sort of like sing-along riffs and sing-along choruses to them. So again, this is definitely another favorite of mine. All right, moving on. I feel like every time I do a video, I'm like sniffling. I'm sorry about that. This album is called In My Head. And this might be my favorite Black Flag album. Why I like this? Well, first of all, I'm going to say that I read somewhere that this album was originally going to be a Greg Ginn solo record. And then Henry Rollins heard the music, and he loved it so much that he ended up putting some lyrics to it. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. But with this album, you can definitely hear, with the musical arrangements, how this could have been a solo record. But I think it works really well with the lyrics that Rollins put on it. There's a real dark quality to this. The lyrics in some of the songs are brought way down in the mix, so it's hard to hear. There's a lot of reverb in the recording. Side 1 is very dark. I think it opens up more in side 2, but for side 1, you've got Paralyzed, The Crazy Girl, Black Love, White Hot, and In My Head. Those first few songs, Paralyzed, The Crazy Girl, and Black Love, I remember listening to them as a kid, and I'd never heard anything like that, and I'd never heard Black Flag sounding like that. So those songs took a few listens to me, but now I just love those songs. Side 2, like I said, opens up a little bit more. It's a little brighter. You've got Drinking and Driving, which was a big Black Flag song. Retired at 21. Love the guitar in that. Society's Tease has a great little melody to that. And It's All Up to You. So the lineup for this, you've got Henry Rollins on vocals, Greg Ginn, guitar, Kira again on bass, and Bill Stevenson on drums. So if you're seeing the connection here, that lineup, classic, okay? This album was recorded at Total Access in Redondo Beach, California. It was produced by Greg Ginn. You've got the classic Raymond Pettibon album art. Let's take a look at the vinyl here. It's on gray. It's on the gray SST label. So, again, another one of my favorite albums by Black Flag. Now, so those are my... So I talked about In My Head, which is definitely a favorite. Loose Nut, which is a favorite. My War. Oh, The Process of Weeding Out. I also love the album Slip It In. I do not have that on vinyl, but I have it on CD. The song that screams out to me on Slip It In, I love the instrumental Obliteration. So if you, again, are into instrumental punk, jazzy type music, you got to listen to the instrumental Obliteration. That song is great. I mean, the song Slip It In is a classic. You know, that's another album that is awesome, and I do want to get that on vinyl. I just do not have it yet. Two other records I want to talk about. This Little Baby is a little harder to find. You can still find it out there in the wild, if as we say. But there's the bars. This is a single off of the In My Head album. And this is a promo for the songs Drinking and Driving and It's All Up to You. So this, you know, must have been a promo that they would send out to radio stations to play. It says up here, not for sale. Kind of a cool piece of Black Flag memorabilia. I'll show you the vinyl on it. The white SST label. So, kind of a cool piece. You know, it's funny. I originally had this, and back in the early 90s when I was kind of getting rid of my vinyl, I know. I say that now, and I'm like, why did I do that? That was one of the things that I got rid of. I don't know why, and I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. So last year when I started getting back into vinyl, that was one of the first things that I purchased because I wanted it back. So now I've got it back. The other one that I don't really listen to that often is this Demos album. It's recorded back in 1982. This is a bootleg, and there's lots of different versions of this. But basically what this is the band playing with the songs that would eventually become My War. They were in a transition between Damaged and My War. There were legal issues going on. The band was in transition. The lineup was in transition. The music was in transition. And this album is, it's I don't really listen to it that often. It's interesting to listen to because you can kind of hear the skeletons of the songs and to kind of see how they sounded at the time, to kind of hear some early versions of the songs. And there's actually some songs in here that don't appear on any albums. You've got a song called What Can You Believe that didn't appear on an album. Yes, I Know, which didn't appear on an album. They've got an early version of Slip It In, an early version of My Modern Man, an early version of My War, an early version of Black Coffee, an early version of Beat My Head, I Can't Decide, I Love You. Remember, I Love You is one of my favorite songs. And then an early version of Nothing Left Inside. Here's the back cover. And the lineup on here, as a fan, this would have been a cool lineup if they would have officially made an album. You have Chuck Dukowski on bass, which is he's one of the founding members of Black Flag, and he went on to form the band SWA, which is another band I love. Chuck Biscuits on drums, great drummer. He went on to be in the Danzig band. I believe that Chuck Biscuits also played in the band DOA. Des Cadena on guitar. And Greg Ginn on guitar. Des Cadena went on to form the band DC3, which is another great SST band. And then you've got Henry Rollins on vocals. Kind of a cool picture on the back, showing you all the guys back in the day. So it's a cool piece to have. Like I said, I don't really listen to it that often. It's a little bit of a rough recording. Like I said, it's a bootleg. Here's the black vinyl with a white label. But it's still a cool piece to have. So again, that's my Black Flag collection on vinyl. Like I said, I do want to get Slip It In on vinyl. And I do want to get some of the other stuff too. But for me, for my money, the Henry Rollins era of Black Flag is my go-to. I love the early Black Flag stuff as well. But for me, I think it's just because that's what I first listened to. Like My War and In My Head were some of the first albums that I'd heard by them. And, you know, it grabbed me at that young age. So now I feel like I just keep going back to that era. And, you know, the intensity of Black Flag, the uniqueness of them, you know, the jazz quality that Greg Ginn brings to his solos, the metal leanings that the band has, Henry Rollins' vocal approach, his intensity, his lyrics. That's what I like. That's what I like. Another cool album that I just remembered is the album Family Man. Family Man's cool too. It's got an instrumental side and it's got some spoken word by Henry Rollins. It's a little cheesy at parts, but the spoken word song Family Man is just great. I love how Henry Rollins says it. He's like, family man, family man. I can't remember. I was going to say some more and I can't remember what he says. What does he say? Oh, you're such a man when you're putting up your Christmas lights. First one on the block. It's just, he's just got that, he's got that approach to it. I don't know if he's putting it on or if he's really serious as he's doing it. There's a creepy video, I think, of him actually, you know, reciting that poem. You can find it on YouTube. And again, you're looking at him and you're like, wait a second, is he like pretending putting this on, or does he really, like, is he really invested in what he's saying? I think it's probably a little bit of both. So I'm getting a little off topic. Basically, Black Flag, if you've never heard them, you've got to listen to them. If you're a Black Flag fan, hopefully, you know, maybe I inspired you to pull out your Black Flag records again, or maybe check out some stuff you hadn't checked out before. If you like this, subscribe, share the video, pass the word on. I'll be doing definitely more videos. Like I said, I'm up to 18 subscribers. This is probably one of my longest videos. Hopefully you liked it, and I will see you in the future. Bye.